Hello guys, so in this lecture we are going to discuss some classical computation on quantum computer. This will be very introduction to how to code the algorithms in quantum computer and how are they are thought to be programmed. So let's see what we are going to do. One consequence of having a universal set of quantum compute gates is the ability to reproduce any classical computation. So quantum gates can produce any set of classical operations. Classical computation, any classical computation can be performed on quantum computer, right? So that's clear. We need to simply compile the classical computation down to Boolean logic gates that we saw in atoms of the computation, then reproduce these on quantum computers. So basically every operation we are doing in a classical computer is some set of Boolean logic gates. Generally what we are programming is just we are on an abstract level which we don't know how the things are working at the core level. Some of us may know, some of us won't. And now this is why we need, if we want to code to quantum computers, we are gonna need the Boolean logic to do that operation. This demonstrates an important fact about quantum computers. They can do anything that classical computer can do, and they can do so with at least the same computational complexity, though it is not the aim to use quantum computers for a task at which classical computers already excel. So we have quantum computers can do everything that a classical computer can do, but the use of quantum computers is completely different. This is nevertheless a good demonstration for quantum computers can solve general range of problems, because classical computers are already doing great at it and they are very fast for that. Furthermore, problems that require quantum solutions often involve components that can be tackled using classical algorithms. In some cases, these classical parts can be done on classical hardware. However, in many cases, classical algorithms must run on inputs that exist in superposition states. The classical algorithms are going to run on superposition. So for classical computation, they are not even aware of that superposition exists. Till this point, we didn't even know that superposition exists. It was very brain uh, blasting. In this section, we introduce some of the ideas used when doing this. Consulting an oracle. Many quantum algorithms are based around the analysis of some function fx. Often these algorithms simply assume the existence of some black box implementation of this function, which we can give an input x and receive the corresponding output fx. Just now, while these lectures, I am getting a concept much clearer, so let me clarify for you. Paintbrush. Now we take a pen and of the white ink. So suppose this is a function, this is the input. As we know, this is continued till the outside also, this will be input, but we pass on which we want the output, and now this will be f applied on input. For an example, we have 0 here and we have 1 here. Now we want f of 0 is 0 XOR 1. So 0 XOR 1 is 0. So what this f does is calculates XOR with 1. That's a very trivial operation. We pass 0, we pass output, which is already 0. Now we have f. So what f does, here it must be 0 because input hasn't changed. Now this must be also 0 because this is f of 0, which is XOR, so this one will be 1. So this is XOR with 1, so this will be 1. So you get the basic idea. We have input qubits, how they are represented, this circuit model. We put a function. Function is just like an oracle, and oracle is just like a function. And after the output, we also send an output qubit on which the operation of applied by the oracle on the input qubit, the output will be saved on the output qubit. That's okay. Just like the Turing machine, we have an input tape, we have an output tape, and Turing machine performs on the operation on the input tape with first copy and write the output on the output tape. That's exactly what Turing machine does, and that is what the oracle is doing. In order to, the advantage of thinking of an oracle is the abstract way allows us to concentrate on quantum techniques we use to analyze the function rather than the function itself. What is that statement saying? Many quantum algorithms are based on analysis of some function fx. Often these algorithms simply assume the existence of some black box implementation of this function, which we can give an input x and receive the output fx. So we don't know how is the implementation is going to happen. We just know that this is what fx is doing, and this is the black box. So this is the oracle in which we don't know the internal working. The advantage of thinking of oracle in this abstract way allows us to concentrate on quantum techniques we use to analyze the function. Quantum techniques we use to analyze the function rather than the function itself. So we focus on the quantum techniques, not the function itself, because we are just saying the function exists, so exists, right? We are not worried about. So now how are we going to exploit that? In order to understand how oracle works within a quantum algorithm, we need to specify about how they are defined. One of the main forms that oracle take is that Boolean oracles. So I just showed you that. We have an x, we have an output qubit 0, and then we have an x which is unchanged, and then we have a fx. So then in the output qubit, we have performed the operation on the input by the oracle, and it is copied to the fx. Here x0 is x XOR in x tensor 0 is used to represent a multi-qubit state because of two registers. The first register is in state x, where x is binary representation of the input to our function. The number of qubits in this register is the number of bits required in the present inputs. So what is a register? Input register is the number of qubits we are considering as input, and the output register is the number of qubits we have considered as output. Thus, just like in the classical computing, we understand that. The job of the second register is to similarly encode the output. The job of the second register is to simply encode the output. So the second register, which is the output register, contains the output. Specifically, the state of this register after applying UF will be binary representation of the output fx. And this register will consist of as many qubits as are required for this. So, if the fx requires 2 qubits, the number of qubits in the output register will be 2 qubits. If it is 1, it's 1. Then it's 3, then it's 3. The initial state 0 for the register represents all qubits are 0. So this 0 bar represents that suppose 4 input qubits are given. This is the oracle, and 4 input qubits are will come out, but the output is also represented in 4 qubits form. So the 4 qubits will go out and 4 qubits come, but all of them, all of the 4 qubits will be 0, 0, 0, 0. So this set of all the 4 qubits to be in 0 format is the 0 bar representation. Now another form of oracle is the phase oracle, which is defined as follows. Phase oracle applied on x, it's -1 raised to fx x, where the output fx is simply a bit value of 0 or 1. Though it seems much different from the Boolean oracle, it is very much another expression of the same basic idea. In fact, it can be realized using the phase kickback mechanism as described in the previous section. To consider this, consider Boolean oracle UF that would correspond to the same function. This can be implemented as something that essentially is a generalized form of controlled NOT. It is controlled on the input register such that it leaves output qubit in the state 0 for fx equal to 0, applies x to flip it to 1 if fx equal to 1. So control NOT. If the initial state of output register were -1 or minus rather than 0, The effect of UF would then be induce exactly the phase of minus 1 Fx. So unitary operation x and minus is equal to nothing, phase operator, and nothing means identity operator on phase operator on x and the minus. Since the minus state of the output is left unchanged by the whole process, it can be safely ignored. The end effect is therefore that phase oracle is simply implemented by the corresponding Boolean oracle. Now taking out the garbage. The functions evaluated by an oracle are typically those that can be evaluated efficiently on a classical computer. So the functions that are evaluated by oracle are mostly those who are calculated on classical computer. However, the need to implement it as unitary shown means that it must be instead be using quantum gates. The need to implement it as unitary in one of the forms shown above means that it must be implemented using. So the operations are classical, but the implementation is quantum. However, this is not as quite simple as just taking the Boolean gates that can implement the classical algorithm, replacing the quantum counterparts. One issue that is that we take care of reversibility. So reversibility is the new concept. There is this series of MIT given by Nielsen Chuang, and he shows very brilliantly, means the example he is showing, it's beautiful, that why is the reversibility meaning, what is reversibility required in quantum. What happens is you perform the unitary operation. So if you apply the complex conjugate transpose part to the already operated operator, so it will come back to the original state. Is somehow physically possible that in classically that we can return to the initial state without losing any energy. Suppose we have any state 0, means bit 0 we have, then we delete the 0 and write the 1. So the information is lost. Now to go back to 0, we have to delete the 1 and write again 0. What quantum does, if I have a state 0 and I apply it 1 and I apply it x again, so it convert to 0, it's completely reversible, no energy is lost. So this is a very Landauer's principle. You can study that, you will know that spontaneous process loses entropy, we know that, and spontaneous process can't be reversed. So that one issue that we must take about reversibility. The unitary form of the u equals to x fx is only possible if every unique x results the unique output fx. This is not true in general. However, we can force it to be true by simply including copy of the input and the output. So we can just include a copy of the input and the output. It is this that leads us to the form Boolean oracles as we saw earlier. So ux0 is x, so why this x we are including is that is why Boolean oracles have this form. With the computation written as unitary, we are able to consider the effect of applying its superposition states. So if we apply this to x0, then we can see that it is applied to all of them. This will result in to all possible inputs and output pairs. When adapting classical algorithms, we also need to take care that superposition behave as we need them to. Classical algorithms typically do not only compute the result output, but will also create additional information along the way. Such additional remnants of the computation do not pose a significant problem classically, and the memory they take up easily be recovered by deleting them. From a quantum perspective, however, things are not so easy. For example, consider the case that classical algorithm performs the following process: v, x, x0 bar, 0 bar, so fx and gx. Here we see a third register which is used as a scratch pad for the classical algorithm. We will refer to the information that is left in this register at the end of commutation as garbage. Let us see VF to denote unit that implements the above. Quantum algorithms are typically built upon interference effects. The simplest such effect is to create a superposition of some unitary, then remove it using the inverse of that unitary. The entire effect of this is trivial. However, we must ensure that our quantum is at least able to do such trivial things. For example, suppose some process with our quantum computation has given us superposition state this, and we require then to return to state x0. For this, we could just simply apply UF dagger, and the ability to apply this directly knowing a circuit that would apply UF, since we would simply need to replace each gate in the circuit with its inverse and reverse the order. However, suppose we don't know how to apply UF, but instead we know how to apply VF. This means that we can't apply UF dagger, but we could use UF dagger, but you can use VF dagger. Unfortunately, the presence of garbage means it would have the same effect. For example, explicit example, with this we can take a simple case. We'll restrict x, fx and gx to all consist of just a single bit. We'll also use fx equals to s and gx equals to x, each of which can be achieved by using a single cx gate controlled on input register. So what we are doing? Input qubit, we name it input, output qubit, garbage qubit. Now we use an oracle UF, quantum circuit, input qubit, output qubit, garbage qubit. So the 3 are passed. Now we apply oracle UF input qubit 0 and output qubit 0. Now drop. This is our circuit. For VF, we also need to copy of the garage. We can also 2 CX gates. VF, this we have circuit CX of 0, 0 to garbage and 0 to output. So these are 2 operations. Now we can look at the first applying UF and then applying VF dash, then effect the following circuit. QX QC is equals to VF plus VF inverse. This circuit begins with 2 identical CX gates, those whose effect cancel each other out. All that remains is the final CX between the input and out garbage registers. Mathematically, this means VF dagger UF is equal to VF dagger XFX0 XXGRX. Here we see that the action of V does not simply return us to initial state, but instead leaves the first qubit entangled with unwanted garbage. Any subsequent steps in an algorithm will not return as expected, since the state is not that one we need. For this reason, we need a way of removing classical garbage from our quantum algorithms, and this can be done by a method known as uncomputation. We simply need to take another blank variable and apply VF. So this is we take, and then we apply set of control NOT gates, each controlled as one of the qubits used to indicate the output and targeted on the corresponding qubit in the extra blank variable. So we have created an extra blank variable. This is the output, and this is control NOT and final output. The effect of this is to copy the information over. If you have heard of no cloning theorem, note that this is not the same process. It specifically transfers state in following way. This is this, so it copies the fx to this. Finally, we apply VF dash. So we see this is these are 0 and this is VFX. The copied output nevertheless remains. The net effect is to perform the computation without garbage and has achieved our desired UF. Using what you know, so how the CX gate works, you should be able to see that to applied to the garbage register will cancel each other out. Will there is remove the garbage. So these are actually applied. If you apply it once again, then it will be removed. So I think that will be enough for today, and that's pretty confusing even for me, and I'm not saying that I understand completely, even very naively, but I hope we'll learn together, and let's meet in the next video.